Parenting a prodigal over the holidays is a really big, complicated issue. And there's no way to address all the complexities of your situation in a short video, but I want to give you some principles that can really, really help you. Because some of your prodigals are early on in the process and they can come home and they can fit into the family and they can get along and they don't come in trying to impose their new worldview or their addictions or their political views or whatever has changed in their life. And they're able to do it really well and amicably. And then there's those that are further or more defiant or more angry or more hurt or have experienced abuse that you're not aware of, and they come in with a lot of attitude. They're very disruptive. They could have mental illnesses. And so there's a whole spectrum of prodigals. And so I want to walk through not necessarily each situation of that, but how do you make that decision? First of all, who makes the decision? Is it just mom, just dad? Is it the person who's the most emotional about whether they're there or whether they're not there? Who are we thinking about? Are we thinking about only the prodigal and how important it is for them to feel a family and feel loved and feel wanted, which is valid? Are we thinking about the other siblings whose lives might have been disrupted, who might have been hurt, injured, their reputation stained? They're still grieving and they're still angry and hurt because of the way they treat the parents. Are we thinking about the other people that might be there? So who are we thinking about when we make this decision? And I would say that it's probably best to talk to everyone that's the core family that's going to be involved with that decision. Because the prodigal does get out of control or becomes unmanageable or extremely disrespectful or brings that dark cloud with them. Everyone's impacted. And it's okay to have a conversation about that and then decide how we're going to decide. Now let's walk through some other options that are outside of the family. This is where if you're in a parent prodigal group, our Facebook group or a phone group, you can actually be asking these questions specific to your situations to a counselor or to a group inside of your church. And if you don't have a prodigal parent group, then go ahead and start one so that these decisions can be aired out, because Charlie acts totally different than Susie, who acts different from Carol, that acts different from Robert. But over the time being in group together, people get to know your child through your stories, and they might be able to help you process that particular decision on how you're going to parent through the holidays. And also, another outside source could be a pastor or a counselor where you as a couple go and you really both share your sides of the story. Kind of the pros and the cons for why the prodigal should be there or not there, or treat them differently, or have a separate thing for them, or have them part of the whole big family system. And that other person might be more objective, or at least be able to navigate you being heard and you being heard. Now, parenting, part of that process, no matter if they're a prodigal or not, is clearly having boundaries. Now, some prodigals are very good with following the rules while they're at your house. This is your house, and you decide, Thanksgiving, Christmas, what the traditions are, and all that kind of stuff. And so having a conversation of these are the boundaries as far as who you can bring, who you can't bring, if we're drinking and we don't want you using drugs that day, and whatever the factors are, you know what they are. And so having clear boundaries where you go over it with them, say, listen, we're going to have this get together, but it's about everybody. And so everyone kind of agrees on these boundaries, and are you okay with this? And if they're fussing about it, they're probably might challenge that during the day or have an attitude, and you might want to suggest that maybe another day of celebrating with them privately might be better. So you have to be really careful, because especially moms are going to talk right to you. You want the whole family together. The picture of being together is sometimes really even more important to some men and women specifically than actually the reality of what's going to happen and how it could really be more harmful than beneficial. And this is a hard conversation to have, because you have to protect everyone in the family, not just one person. And sometimes the image might have to be more what it is in reality. The image of the happy family might not be what you have because of a prodigal. And you have to accept that. And you might still be grieving that. You might be sad. You might be bargaining. Well, if they come in, maybe someone will say something and redirect their lives and they'll no longer be a prodigal. And if you're still grieving that kind of thing, and you're still in bargaining, like if this magic thing happens, then it might turn their life around. And that's, a possibility, but it's not a probability. If they're really hardening in their prodigal process, they're not coming to be changed. And they might be coming just to conform to your family system, or they know that it's important to you to kind of fit in, and they can do that for a few hours. And the boundary might include how often the prodigal stays. Like, once you just come for lunch, leave at 1 o'clock, get your gifts, or just kind of stay for the football game, whatever it is. And we know this is hard for you, and just acknowledge that it's hard for them, and let them have an out card where, you don't have to spend the whole day. Why don't you just come in at such and such a time? If you want to leave at such and such a time, it's okay if you have another situation with your friends or your lover or whatever your situation is. And we understand that, but we want to just have as much time as we can where we can really be a family and try to do that. So parenting a prodigal over the holidays is unique to that situation. And if you do need help, it's okay to call our office, 719-278-3708. And we have counselors who understand the prodigal process. They've read the book. They understand what you're going through. They understand, oftentimes by their own experience, what you're going through. You don't have to be alone. And I would definitely strongly suggest that you have support for both of you and that you both agree. And if you can't agree on how this is going to be managed, that you both agree to go to a group or go to a pastor or counselor to get in agreement. Because the one thing the prodigal doesn't need is a divided house to start with, because oftentimes they're manipulative and they'll sense that. You being unified is probably the most important principle in parenting a prodigal over the holidays. You being in agreement is also important for your marriage and important for the family to know that there is some kind of unity here. And if the prodigal can live within that, that's fantastic. But if they're dynamically just not able to do that, you have to accept that. And they're your child, and you're going to be kind to them. You're going to give them gifts. You're going to do the things you need to do. But even in that process, you need to be in agreement on the gifts. And if they're in addictions, cash is probably not the best idea. Gift cards might be a better idea, where they have to buy something in a store. So you have to think through these things, but you need to think through them together. My heart, it's really burdened during the holidays for those who that chair's empty or that chair's disruptive. This is not a win-win situation. It's not even a win-lose situation. When you have a prodigal, the holidays are a lose-lose situation because they're not all in. They're not following the Father. They're not necessarily in agreement with your family traditions. And so it's a lose-lose. And you have to really evaluate the whole family and decide how you're going to lose, how you're going to walk through this particular season. And remember, this might be years or decades, and I'm not speaking death on it. I'm just saying, I've known thousands of prodigals, and sometimes it takes decades for them to figure it out. Now, I hope that's not your situation. But if it is, you kind of have to work together as a team. And if you're a single mom or a single dad, or you're widowed or divorced, it makes it even more complicated how you're going to do the holidays. So I would definitely seek some support, seek some counsel if you need it, so that you can feel like you did the best you could. And it may not turn out well anyway, but it's not going to necessarily be your fault. And it's not going to be that there wasn't some intentionality to try to make it go well. But if it's just let them show up and do whatever they do, there's no intentionality. And ultimately, as the parents, you're going to be blamed for not protecting the family. So it's better to be proactive and have support and be able to do that and be able to let the prodigal exit with as much grace as possible, even if that means you drive them to a hotel and let them stay there. However you manage it, be in agreement, get help, get support. And I hope you have a great holiday regardless of your prodigal. And I know the pain of having a prodigal is significant, but look to the reasons why the holidays really exist. Whatever the holiday is that you're considering, it's not about that one child. It's really not. It's about being thankful. It's about celebrating Christ's birth or his resurrection. It's about whatever that holiday is about. Okay, even July 4th, it's about celebrating our freedom. And let the holiday be about what the holiday is about. Now, if you have yet to subscribe to our channel, please do that. If you have a question about this or anything else on your heart, go ahead and put it in the little box there. We get to those as soon as possible every weekday, and we appreciate you. So until we see each other again or we talk to each other again, have a good holiday as much as possible.